This episode includes a guided meditation. If you are driving, please be mindful and do not listen to this meditation while you are doing so. Always make sure to listen when you are in a safe environment where you can be relaxed and comfortable. Thank you. Welcome to Ask, Learn, Heal, a podcast to support wellness through energy healing, crystal healing, self-care, and guided meditations. I'm your host, Mary Jo Feely. I want to begin an exploration of light language. What is light language? How does it help support healing, body, mind, and spirit? And also, after I've talked a little bit about light language and given you a sense of how it is a very supportive and helpful modality to work with, you will also have an opportunity to receive a transmission of light language to support the healing that is currently taking place within you. So, light language, when I explain it, I'd like to say that it's essentially, at least in my perspective, the way I would explain it, is that it is a form of energy healing through which the healing vibrations and properties come through verbally. So when light language comes through verbally, it's going to very often sound like gibberish. We're not going to be able to understand it with our conscious thinking mind, which I actually think is a real benefit because then we simply allow the vibrations and the healing that's moving through us, through our physical body and our energy body to do the work, and we don't have to dissect it the way we normally would if we wanted to really understand what was going on. Light language also sometimes presents as being signed. And when I offer light language healing, it sometimes is that my hands are moving in particular positions, creating specific symbols that are then being placed in various parts of the physical body and the energy field and the chakras. Sometimes also, light language can actually be written down. And that also sometimes happens with me where I am guided to simply allow my pen to create the symbols and the shapes and the images that are coming through with the light language. Now, as I mentioned, it's typically not understood through our conscious awareness. And so with light language, my sense is sometimes I get a general impression or a sense of what is being shared, and sometimes I get absolutely no interpretation of the light language that is being transmitted. Also, sometimes the clients who I'm working with, the people who I'm working with and offering light language healing with, sometimes they get a sense of what is being shared. And a really good example of this is once I was working with a person and light language was being transmitted, and the person kept saying, "Yes, I understand, I understand." Their eyes were closed as the transmission was being offered, and they kept saying, "I understand, yes, I've got this," which is wonderful. And at the end of the session, I asked if they would like to share anything during the session and what it was that they may have understood. And the person said, "I really can't give words to it. I can't articulate it. However, at some level, they understood it." And that's the beauty of light language. So when a light language session is being offered, and sometimes light language will come through during one of my energy and crystal healing sessions as well, and not as a standalone light language session, which I do offer. Sometimes I'll get a sense that the transmission is almost like going into part of their physical body. Maybe it's instructions to particular cells to help them, for lack of a better word, remember how to kind of function most optimally. Sometimes it is being placed in various parts of the chakras or the energy field. Because the people I'm working with are the healer and I'm a facilitator, I simply am open to whatever form of healing is going to best support them for their highest healing needs at the time, which is why sometimes energy healing sessions include light language and sometimes they don't. Now, whenever I'm working with light language healing, it's very important to have an intention. And by that, I mean simply that I can't right now make up light language. I certainly could make some sounds that may sound similar to light language, but it's not going to be the light language transmission. When I'm working with light language, is it's very much of a deep, loving, compassionate energy. My sense is it comes from a dimension or a realm that is really of pure love, and it is that particular frequency that is supporting a person in the healing that they're doing, whether it's physical healing, emotional healing, mental healing, or spiritual healing. Light language in my work is going to sound different depending on the situation. Sometimes it sounds fairly sing-songy. Sometimes it feels and sounds kind of more earthy or even some deep tones. Sometimes it reminds me of what deep chanting might sound like. Sometimes it's very high and clicky. It really varies so much depending on what the intention is and again, the need that is arising. So, with light language, this is a very natural way of communicating. We all have the ability to channel light language and to offer light language. And in fact, when light language really started becoming much more evident to me, and as I began to transmit and share these light language healing frequencies, it was several years back. And before that, I realized in retrospect that I had actually been working with light language for a very long time. A simple way to begin to explore language is to simply allow yourself to drop into a place of quiet, of rest, centering on your heart, and then allow yourself to give voice to some tones. And when we tone for healing, it doesn't have to sound pretty. In fact, if we think it needs to sound pretty, there's a part of us that is just still blocking that natural flow. So that's just a little bit about light language. Light language sessions typically are about an hour in length where people will come to me, they'll ask questions, I will transmit light language um, support and guidance to them. And sometimes that guidance in my sets is perhaps more of a single guide or an entity or an angel, some kind of a support. And then sometimes light language actually comes through and it's much more of a collective energy, which is a little different for us as humans because we live in this realm of duality. And so it's you and me, they and them, um, all of us or none of us. You know, there's this kind of separation that we just naturally do in this third dimension. And so, again, because this light language transmission, from my experience, appears to be coming from a place of non duality, sometimes the entire message or the entire energy flow with the light language actually comes from that place as well. So that's just a little bit about light language. And now I would like to offer a light language healing transmission for you. And as I mentioned, it's all about intention. So, what I'd like you to do is just take a moment. If you're driving, I'm going to just ask you to just perhaps pause this video and revisit it when you can really settle in to a place where you are able to just really drop into your heart space without any extra sound. So, you know, find a place where you're not going to be interrupted for just a couple minutes. And if that's right now, that's wonderful. Anytime we're working with energy healing and light language healing, particularly since that's what we're talking about today, this is healing that takes place outside of space time. So, this is why you can revisit this particular video and you can listen again to the light language transmission, and it's going to touch into and support the healing that you're doing in various types and ways within your life. And that could be quite different today than it may be if you revisit this video at another time. So drop into your heart center and simply bring forth a healing intention. something that you'd like to really bring in to support healing, clarity, a deeper sense of compassion, drawing in wisdom into this particular situation. It could be with a relationship, it could be with something physically going on, could be that you're navigating some of the stresses that we have in our world and looking for a way to support that. So simply drop into that intention. I'm going to give you just a moment to do that. And then I'm going to offer light language transmission to support that. Sipishitaya no yata kata shoko. Poshotaya na yala to tukachititi hintintia jayo kotuna. Michitaya tunjapataya ka. Motudunu ujetia taya taja kopoto naya bakala teniti tu. Po soto hoja taya poloto hojo kocho joyaya na koto kopoto hoja tayo kushiti shaya kaya to hojo ho poche taya kantayo puno hotaya. Mola na na atana kacho ko hocho to hoshi to hocho no hulata taja koto ho shinibiti aya katana. Shokoto na yataya punchi ni daya. Molana na hakata no kuchunu huchiti manakayo ko na yatayo to ina nakaya to po na yatata kontaya nata. Monana nakato no kuchu to shutu kuchini di pishitu nanana yokoto yatata yoko nata yoko daya pana. Just very gently breathe that blessing, breathe that healing transmission into your heart space, allowing it to go wherever it needs to go within your physical or energetic body to support the intention that you brought forth at this time. And just know that healing is taking place in the fullness of time, and that this healing is benefiting you and all beings without one exception. And take a final couple breaths just to bring yourself back to present moment awareness. So that is an example of light language transmission. And as I mentioned, sometimes light language comes through when I'm working with clients with energy and crystal healing. Sometimes it will even come through when I'm actually teaching Reiki classes. And sometimes there's just a sense that a particular student needs some particular light language support, and then it just is offered and then drop back into the regular process. A light language session itself, as I mentioned, is typically going to be about an hour in length, and it's an opportunity to bring forth questions, bring forth situations, and receive healing and light language transmission to support what it is that's arising for you. Again, all of the services and offerings that I do have available are really designed to support you in whatever it is that is arising for you, body, mind, spirit. So for now, I simply wish you many blessings.